Welcome to Soul and Strategy. Today, we are diving into a topic that many of us wrestle with: self trust, reinvention, and belonging. I'm thrilled to be joined by Monica Kalra, who is an author, speaker, and coach helping professional women and leaders rediscover clarity, confidence, and alignment in life and career. Monica, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Kanchana, for having me today. I'm really honored to be here.
My pleasure. Monica, before we dive into our quick 15-minute chat, I would love for you to introduce yourself to our listeners in your own words and share what drew you to this work and why it's so close to your heart.
Thank you so much, Kanchana. As you mentioned, I'm Monica Kalra, and I am an executive and personal leadership coach, speaker, and a multi award winning author. I work with brilliant professional women who look successful on the outside, but they feel something's off on the inside. They're not in crisis, they're not falling apart, they're doing everything right, but they're feeling disconnected from themselves. So, my work helps them pause, get honest about what's really going on, and then reconnect with a way of living and leading that brings clarity and confidence. In many ways, I see myself both as a mirror and as a map. I help them see what they are missing and then guide them back to their own inner spark.
Thank you so much, Monica, for that intro. Monica, so let's dive in straight into the questions now. So many people feel stuck or disconnected even when everything looks perfect on paper. Self doubt often creeps in, we lose our energy, and we often question our capabilities. How can leaders or professionals maintain alignment and authenticity while navigating big career transitions or life changes?
Any big transitions, whether it's a new role, it's a change in direction, or even a personal shift, it can feel wobbly inside. And it's very easy at that time to lose our footing and start performing again instead of leading from our truth. Now, why do we lose our authenticity? Let me take you back into your childhood. As children, as Dr. Gabor Mate says, we have two needs. The first one is to belong, and the other one is self-expression or authenticity. Because humans are the most vulnerable species as children, we need to belong. We need to be loved. And therefore, at a very early age, a large number of us give up on our authenticity. And this pattern then continues into our adulthood, whereas it is no longer serving us. So the first thing I always tell my clients is that authenticity isn't a personality trait. It's a practice. And we don't stay aligned by holding everything together. We stay aligned by staying connected to ourselves, to our values, and what feels honest to us. And therefore, whenever we're going through these big changes, these old patterns where we gave up our authenticity, our self-expression, they are likely to come up. And therefore, it is important that we take a breath. We feel into the emotions that are coming up for us. We welcome them. And along with that, we also tap into the sensations associated with each of these emotions. Because when we can welcome them and when we can experience them in our body and give that pause before we can rush into that action that we are supposed to be taking, the big transition that we are to make, then we are likely to be more authentic. Similarly, it is important that we ask ourselves, what part of this feels true and what part of this is forced? Because alignment isn't about total clarity. It's about being honest enough to acknowledge to ourselves, to admit to ourselves what is true for us, even if it is not aligned. That awareness is important. And how we can do that during uncertain times is by anchoring into our values. Our values can become our inner compass. So if we are leading with what matters to us, whether it is integrity, balance, creativity, whatever that might be, then the decisions that we take are likely to be more authentic, even in uncertain times. And the other thing that I always recommend to my clients is that we surround ourselves with people and environments where we don't have to perform, where we can feel safe, because that's the time when we can gain more clarity and confidence more naturally. So maintaining alignment isn't about perfection. It's about awareness. We can't control the changes around us, but we can certainly stay connected to ourselves during this time. And that's what makes leadership more effective and at the same time more real and authentic.
That's such an awesome and great insights there. So, Monica, while you spoke about what are some daily practices that help rebuild trust in oneself, even in moments of self doubt?
Rebuilding self trust doesn't start with big leaps. It always starts with very small moments of honesty with ourselves. When we are doubting ourselves, our nervous system doesn't need to be pressurized more. In fact, it needs to be made aware that it is safe to be with ourselves. It's a bit like the video you shared with me about Brené Brown and her idea about the marble jar. So, trust is built small bits at a time. Every time you keep some promise to yourself, you're adding a marble to your jar. And over time, these moments tell our system that I can rely on myself. You asked about a few practices. The first thing that you can do is keep small promises to yourself every day. Now, this could be anything like going for a 10-minute walk. It could be maybe reading before going to bed. Or it could be as simple as having a glass of water first thing early in the morning, but doing it consistently. Because when we're doing it consistently, we are telling our nervous system that it's safe, that we can rely on ourselves. And that builds, that in fact deposits self trust. Again, coming back to that question, what feels true for me now? Not what's expected, not what I should be doing, but what's real for me. Because that very question rebuilds the bridge between the mind and the body. And towards the end of the day, I also recommend another practice to my clients, and that's to ask yourself, where did I honor myself today? Because this helps the brain register our safety and our success. And as Dr. Rick Hansen says, that then that rewires our brain for more calm and as well as for more confidence. Self trust isn't rebuilt in big moments, it's rebuilt marble by marble through small, steady acts of honesty until the system begins to believe that I'm safe to be with myself.
Thank you so much, Monica, for those wonderful daily practices. I totally believe being grounded and being present is so important. And that's where I sometimes feel that many people who struggle with feeling like they don't really belong to a place, for example, people who are migrants or international students, or even leaders who would be transitioning to different geographies in their career, they often get that feeling that they don't belong. So, how do you guide someone to create that sense of belonging internally first before they seek anything externally?
I really love this question because belonging isn't about fitting into a place, whether it's in a role or it's in a new place that you migrated to, or it's even fitting into our own families. It's all about how and whether we can be safe to be with ourselves. Most of us chase belonging outside of ourselves through approval, through achievement, through easy to be liked. But real belonging starts when we stop editing ourselves in order to be accepted. And that's one thing I tell my clients every time that people disagree with them. I always tell them and ask them, can you stay connected to yourself even if someone disagrees with you? Because that question sows the seeds of internal belonging. There are so many times when we leave ourselves. Every time that you are saying yes when you mean no. Every time that you're trying to keep peace, even if you don't agree with it, in order to avoid conflict. These are all moments of self abandonment. So, being aware, because awareness is the first step towards coming home to yourself. The other thing that I recommend is practicing self acceptance. Whenever any older pattern, any fear comes up, when we are being rejected, or when we are not being part of a certain group, or when we are thinking that we don't belong somewhere, take a breath and remind yourself that it's safe to be me now. And even if people don't agree with me, because it's the same pattern that's coming up as I explained to you earlier of our childhood, because at that time it was important for us to belong to people because we were helpless as children. But as adults, we can look after ourselves. So we have to just remind our nervous system and regulate it that if people disagree with us, it doesn't mean we are in danger. We can be safe to be with ourselves. And I've also noticed that when we belong to ourselves, we start attracting people places, environments where we don't need to perform anymore. And then the idea of belonging shifts from will they choose me to does this space feel honest for me? Because internal belonging is all about safety in self connection. And when that becomes strong, we stop chasing places to fit in. In fact, we start finding places that truly fit us.
Amazing. That's really incredible thoughts from you, Monica. Before we wrap up, I have one final question. While you spoke about attracting and belonging to your own space, it starts with that. I think this question ties everything together very beautifully. As Adam Grant, in one of his recent posts, who is an organizational psychologist at Wharton and number one New York Times bestselling author of Think Again, he puts in a recent post, we also absorb them. What's your take on this?
I think Adam's point is absolutely true because who we choose to build our life with deeply shapes our energy, our mindset, and also our capacity. But I'd like to add something more important to this quote, to this post. It's not just about choosing a dependable partner, it's about who we become around them. That is important because we don't just absorb our partner's habits, we also absorb their nervous system. So let me explain this. When our partner meets any stress with groundedness, with calmness, then we learn to regulate ourselves by osmosis, right? Similarly, if our partners are reactive in a situation or they withdraw themselves, then we are likely to feel stressed and tensed as well. So, partnership isn't just emotional, it's also behavioral, it's also biological because we learn to co regulate with each other every day. And that's why I tell my clients that the real question is not, do I have a perfect partner? But the real question is, can I stay true to myself in this relationship? And can my partner also stay true to themselves in a relationship with me? Because healthy partnerships, they're not built on sameness. They are built on shared safety so that both people can be real. They can be authentic with themselves. They can be authentic with the other person. And at the same time, they're responsible, they're supported. And this applies not just to the married people. This applies to people who are single as well because of their environments, because of their interaction with their friends, with their colleagues, with their mentors, because they can either be draining them or strengthening them. So any relationship can help us to rise or it can help us to shrink us. So yes, who we marry certainly matters, but how consciously are we both growing together? That matters more because love isn't just shape our careers, it also shapes our capacity to be calm, to be clear, to be grounded, and most of all, to be alive in every part of our life.
Amazing. Those are really incredible insights, Monica. Thank you so much for sharing your insights today in this 15 minutes quick chat. I know it was pretty quick, but definitely we'll have next round again with more such insightful questions for our listeners. This conversation is a powerful reminder that self-trust, reinvention, and belonging are not just concepts. They are practices we can cultivate every day in our lives. For listeners, I encourage you to take one small step this week, whether it's pausing to check in with yourself, making a decision aligned with your values, or reaching out to a supportive community. Monica, it's been such a pleasure having you on the show. And to everyone tuning in, thank you for joining us at the Soul and Strategy podcast. Thank you so much, Monica.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.